As we are talking about how to connect with community and how to become more educated about sex and everything else, Tanjil, I have to ask, how has FetLife.com, like FetLife itself, actually added value to your life? I mean, why would you recommend it to others?
Oh, wow. Because it's a wonderful way to safely explore your fetishes and kinks. So you might only ever want to do a little bit of online role play. You might want to join a community, become a massive player, and or anywhere in between. You might only want to
Sure.
go to private parties. So FetLife is a gateway to exploring your sexuality
To all
and
the things that your religion warned you about.
exactly. And just to introduce you to a really great bunch of people. In my experience, people who practice BDSM are lovely, warm, caring, fairly fastidious about safe, sane, and consensual play. Um, it's a wonderful place to start and find your place. It's also a wonderful place to be exposed to things that you've never heard of, that you might not know that you're interested in. Um, you'll very rarely start with one thing and end with the same thing. My kinks and fetishes have changed over the years many, many times. Your
Same.
core substance generally stays the same, but all your little side interests will often come and go. So it's just a wonderful experience all round.
Yeah, and I'll just go ahead and out myself to all of the folks who are watching this who maybe recently came out of religion or are just still working to really unpack a lot of the shame that comes with their religiosity. Even after you throw your Bible away or shove it into a drawer or whatever else, a lot of that shame and guilt follows for a long time. And that's certainly something our community is familiar with, but one way to work against that shame is to dip your toe in the water, and online only play, like Tanjil was describing, might be a safer, easier way of doing that. If the notion of going to a dungeon party or even just going to a munch feels too intimidating, meeting somebody online and just having that type of sexting role play relationship can actually be incredibly therapeutic in a lot of ways. I'll go ahead and bring up again something I mentioned on the show a couple of months ago. Slutbot is silly enough a great way of having a similar experience. I would encourage anybody who's curious to just Google that phrase, slutbot, and you'll have an opportunity to sort of play and role play and have that type of exchange with an AI, where you don't have to worry about embarrassing yourself, where you can be yourself and sort of explore in a comfortable way. But on that, Tanjil, how can people like get involved in FetLife or go to the website and set up a profile without feeling incredibly intimidated? Because I know it can feel kind of scary to navigate some of these spaces.
It does. It's really important for you to know that 90% of people on FetLife are not experienced BDSM dungeon masters. In fact, there are very, very few of those. 90% of people are just daggy old you and me's hanging out, maybe who just want a little bit of kinky fun. Very low level BDSM players. I actually call them kinksters because a lot of people aren't actually into BDSM. They just want to mess around with some light bondage, some fun spanking, a lot of laughter and fun. Sex with collars on is what I call it. So don't be intimidated. That is the vast majority by far. A lot of them, quite a number of people, are more likely to be middle aged and older because they've spent their lives trying to repress their sexuality and have come out at a later date. So you're looking at my age and older. Not that there aren't younger people, of course there are, uh, but quite a few of us are older and just normal people. Dungeons are few and far between. So you don't need to worry about that. Not everyone's running around in latex and have bodies like models. Quite the opposite. Dad bods abound and mum bods abound. Post baby stretch marks and overweight and all that sort of thing. Don't be intimidated. Jump on, do your profile, and make it normal. Don't try and be sexy or impressive or sound like you know something that you don't. In fact, humility and letting people
Humility
know
is a
that
very powerful coin in that community
very
because
powerful.
people will sniff out your bullshit and be able to call
Real
you on it
fast.
and be very turned
Yeah.
off by, you mentioned those like domly doms that come in for
Ugh.
the very first time and are like, oh, I'm such a
Yeah.
badass master, and ain't nobody
Yeah.
buying it. Just be
Yep.
you, be humble.
Yep.
I'm
Be
not buying it
humble.
from you, Christy. I'll tell you that much.
I am a domly dom. Get your ass over here, bitch. Oops,
Nah,
sorry.
I think Christy is a dark horse there.
Getting
I wouldn't be
demonetized
placing
over
my
here.
bets. So yeah, just be honest. I'm new to this and looking to learn, looking for friends. Don't try and jump in the deep end. Just be honest. I need to learn. So befriend me and help me. And when you want to contact, so if you see a profile and you want to contact, read it from top to bottom, and I mean to bottom, no matter how long their profile is, because they will often put a code word in, and if you don't add that to the subject line, they will just delete your message because people hate it when you don't read their entire profile.
That might be
And
the most like succinct and important piece of FetLife advice I've ever heard in my
yes,
life.
That's
Read,
clever, yeah.
read before you
read.
respond, before you message somebody.
That's right. That's right. And don't be a dick. Don't try and be sexy and do the come. No, just hi. I'm new. I'm trying to make friends. I like the look of your profile. I read what you're into. We seem to be into other things. Can you recommend some good groups for me to be in? Don't just try and come on to people. It's repulsive from a stranger. Get to
Yeah.
know people.
Well, we've talked about some good tips for staying safe. Do you have any particular tips for somebody who is just logging in, creating their account, setting up a profile for the first time, about how to protect their privacy and maybe avoid some like rookie safety mistakes?
Absolutely. Make all your photos private so that only friends can see them. And anyone who private messages you, ignore, do not respond. Wait till you find your groups.
Hmm.
Only add people as friends once you know them. If they have profile names like, speaking on behalf of women, if there's a guy with a profile called Pussy Destroyer, block. You, I mean,
Fair.
that I have to even say that. No, really, I have to say this, and it upsets me that I have to say this, that women don't get that. You know,
We
mask's
so
gonna make you
other.
cry.
Yeah, we so other the kink community that I think
Mm,
when people are looking to be open-minded and accepting, they are not really trained or experienced in where to draw that line or how to recognize
yeah,
the distinction between kink and abuse. And
yeah,
that's a important, maybe I wouldn't say necessarily difficult. I think it just takes a little bit of time in and around the community. So everything that
yeah.
you're saying, Tanjil, makes sense to me because it's a lot of don't try to rush anything. Take the
Yes,
temperature of the room. Act like you
absolutely.
belong there and get to know folks a little bit before you just sort of own the space.
Absolutely. Yes, but that when you first join, that is when the sharks will circle.
Sure.
That is when you're most likely to be jumped on, especially if you're a woman, because unfortunately the ratio to men to women is very disproportionate. If you're a dominant woman, you will be inundated. Like 10,000 to 1
Yeah.
is my best guess. Sub men to
Wow.
women. Yeah,
The community is
it's
very bottom heavy, but
very
particularly
bottom
if you
heavy.
are a heterosexual male bottom. Like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So
Hmm.
hide that fact if you are a top for a little while at least. And as I said, go find your munch group. Even if you don't want to be a part of a munch, find the person who hosts them and ask them, you hold munches in my area. Can you recommend some good groups for this area? I only want to do some online chatting. Can you recommend some good kick chat groups or something? But the person who holds the munches in the area will be in the know. They're always the best person to go to.
Yeah, well, we haven't, I think, poked fun nearly enough at how old the website is and how
Oh
poor the
my
design
goodness.
is and everything else. I think anybody who logs in will very quickly see what I mean. So knowing that Fed itself is like deeply in need of a revamp, are there any
Yeah.
alternatives you might recommend? Are there any other websites that curious folks should know about?
Look, there are lots of little satellite websites, but none that are going to replace that. So
Sure.
you can find, if you just Google search BDSM and your local area, you're likely to find, but it'll always lead straight back to FET. Like people will always have a FET profile. You can't escape it. It's kind of like you just have to.
To me, it's almost like having a business card because
It
if you go
is. It
out
is.
into the kink community and you're meeting people at a munch,
Yeah.
they're going to ask what your handle is, and so you almost
Yeah.
have to have one just for that reason alone, even if you're not logging in.
It's absolutely true. So, look, I've investigated a lot of different BDSM sites, and unfortunately, none of them have been any better.
Sure, fair to
Any
say.
better. Yeah.
Sure.
It seems like it's, yeah, people are still filtering through that, through
Mm,
FET. But that's why I also say that's not where the action happens. That's just the filter to find where you need to be.
mm. Well, are there any other final words that you'd like to impress upon the audience tonight before Nate takes us out?
Yeah, jump on FET, even if you don't have many fetishes and kinks, but you like the idea of a little slap and tickle, a little bit of being tied up, just a little bit slightly left of vanilla. You don't need to be, as I said, a leather wearing, whip wielding dungeon master at all. That is just simply not the vast majority of the site. Have a look around, have a browse around. People are just playing and having fun with really good structure and rules and boundaries around that fun. Um, Check it out. I highly recommend it, even if you don't have lots and lots of fetishes or, you know, deep sexual desires that you want to explore. If you just want a little bit of fun, jump on.
Fair to say.
Dip your toe in the water. Good advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Tanjil, where can folks find you? Other than
Nowhere. I'm trying to
everywhere
get
on the ACA.
offline. Go away. Nowhere.
Wow. Wow. She's humble, folks, but Tanjil is ubiquitous on all of the ACA's fan groups and whatnot. So you'll see her sharing stuff.